Are you enjoying the game today too? Because I know I am ready to jump in something that defined a huge chunk of my childhood. We are talking about a Konami legend today, a game that looked so cool on the shelf that you had to have it, even if you had no idea what you were getting yourself into.
It certainly is a title with a formidable reputation. We're taking a deep dive into the 1987 Famicom classic, Getsu Fūma Den.
Oh, finally! I've been waiting for this one. Let's unpack the legend of Getsu Maiden.
I'm sorry, what did you just call it?
Getsu Maiden. You know, the legend of the belching demon.
It's absolutely not read that way. It's Getsu Fūma Den, the legend of Getsu Fūma. Please tell me you haven't been calling it Burp Demon Legend since the 1980s.
Look, cut me some slack. On the box art, the kanji are all smashed together. There are no spaces. As a kid, I saw moon and wind and just, kind of mashed them into a burp. It's a completely logical linguistic evolution for a 7-year-old.
A logical evolution for a child who perhaps wasn't paying attention. But let's set the record straight. This is a very serious action RPG about revenge and family honor. There's very little gastrointestinal distress involved.
Fair enough. But speaking of that box art, you have to admit that was half the reason anyone bought it. Do you remember the physical box? It had that lenticular print.
That's right, the shifting 3D image.
Yes. If you tilted it one way, you saw the hero, Fuma, looking all heroic. Then you tilted it the other way, and you saw the terrifying demon lord. I swear I spent hours just tilting that box back and forth in the store. It felt like holding a piece of the future.
It was a very clever marketing tactic. You have to remember the context of 1987. The Famicom was dominant, but developers were trying to find new ways to make their cartridges stand out on the shelf.
And nothing stood out like that.
Exactly. That cover promised a game that was high-tech, immersive, and maybe a bit darker than your average platformer.
And it delivered on the dark part. Oh boy, did it. This is not jumping on turtles, this was slashing demons. But before we get into the mechanics, we have to address the elephant in the room.
You're referring to the visual similarities to Namco's Genpai Fūma Den.
Exactly. I remember thinking, wait, didn't I play this in the arcade, but from a different company?
Big characters, hellish landscapes. There's been a bit of a copycat situation, wasn't it? Come on.
Copycat might be a bit harsh, but visually, there is no denying the heavy inspiration. Genpai Fūma Den was a massive arcade hit the year before. It really established that gritty Japanese hell aesthetic.
So Konami just said, we can do that at home, but better.
Essentially. But to dismiss Getsu Fūma Den as just a clone does it a disservice. While the aesthetic, what we call wafu, or Japanese style, is similar, the actual game structure is quite different. Genpai was a straightforward arcade action game.
Right, it was just go, go, go.
Whereas Getsu Fūma Den leaned much heavier into the RPG elements and exploration. They took the visual style, but built a Famicom-specific adventure around it. It felt deeper. You really had to sink your teeth into it. And speaking of depth, let's talk about the lore. Because I was reading the info for this, and my jaw just hit the floor. The game looks like ancient feudal Japan, right?
Correct. It presents itself as a mythological period piece. Samurai, demons, the works.
So why, pray tell, does the official story take place in the year 14,672 AD?
That is one of the most fascinating details that most casual players completely miss. The game is set in the first year of the Demon Age, or Mereiki, which corresponds to 14,672 AD.
That's over 12,000 years in the future. I always thought I was playing in the past.
So, wait, does that mean Fuma isn't an ancient samurai, but a futuristic warrior in some kind of post-apocalyptic world?
That is the implication. The idea is likely cyclical history. Humanity has advanced and fallen so many times that we've cycled all the way back to a mythological age where technology is gone or indistinguishable from magic.
My mind is blown. That changes everything.
Right.
So we're in the far future and things have gone very, very wrong. Very wrong. The demon lord Ryūkotsuki, the dragon bone demon, has escaped from hell. He wants to conquer the surface world, which is ruled by the Getsu clan.
And this is where the tragedy starts. It's a classic revenge story.
It is. The three Getsu brothers fought Ryūkotsuki using the family's sacred pulse blades, or hutchkin, but they lost. The two older brothers were killed, and the 3 swords were stolen.
Which leaves our boy, Fuma, the youngest brother. And I love the specific stats the manual gives him. It's so weirdly specific for an 8-bit game.
He's 19 years old, 180 centimeters tall.
And he can run the 100-meter dash in 6 seconds.
Which is, physically impossible for a normal human.
Exactly. Usain Bolt runs it in, 9.5 seconds? Fuma is almost twice as fast. He's a superhero. No wonder he can jump over those giant pits.
Or perhaps he's a product of 12,000 years of evolution. So the mission is laid out. Go to Mad Demon Island, Kishkitu, defeat the Demon Lord, get the swords back, and avenge your brothers.
Simple in concept, brutal in execution, and this is where the gameplay loop kicks in. That map screen, it wasn't just a level select, it really felt like a board game.
It gave the game a sense of scale and connectivity. You weren't just clearing stage 1 and stage 2. You were navigating an entire island, deciding which gate to enter. You had agency.
And you had to manage your wallet. The currency is just called money, which is refreshingly direct.
You collected from defeated enemies, and you needed every single coin.
Desperately. I remember grinding for hours just to buy a life, or those passports, what were they called? The masks?
The devil masks, or kimenfu. They were a crucial gatekeeper mechanic. You literally could not progress to the next island without finding the right mask in a dungeon.
It forced you to explore. Okay, let's talk about the action itself, the side-scrolling part. It felt crunchy in a good way.
That crunch is partly the sound design, but also the mechanics. We should talk about a ken, or sword gauge system.
Right, that bar at the bottom.
This was a clever RPG mechanic hidden in an action game. In most games of that era, your sword does a fixed amount of damage.
Yeah, you hit something, it loses a point.
But in Getsu Fūma Den, as you defeat enemies, your sword gauge fills up. And as it fills, your attack power actually increases.
So the better you play, the stronger you get. It was so satisfying watching that bar max out. You felt unstoppable. But it also added this huge layer of stress, because if you die...
Yes, death has consequences.
Huh?
But before that, there's the other mode. You're feeling good, you're powered up, and then bam, you walk into a cave and the perspective shifts. The 3D dungeons?
Oh, this was the part that scared me as a kid.
These sections were technically impressive for the Famicom. A pseudo 3D dungeon crawler where you had to navigate these mazes with just a compass and a candle.
It felt so claustrophobic, and the enemies in there, you'd turn a corner and suddenly there's a giant skeleton right in your face.
The encounter design completely changed the pacing. In the 2D sections, you can jump and retreat. In the 3D dungeons, you are locked into a one-on-one duel. You cannot run.
It really ramped up the tension, and underscoring all of this was the soundtrack. You just cannot discuss this game without the music.
The Konami Kukeha Club. They were masters of the Famicom sound chip.
Absolute legends. The music in this game is a masterclass. It blends those traditional Japanese scales with this, driving rock beat.
The main field theme, Go Getsu Fūma, is iconic. It's melancholic yet heroic. It perfectly fits the theme of a lone survivor seeking revenge.
It lives rent-free in my head. And speaking of things that live rent-free in my head, we have to talk about the death animation.
Yes, the kanji for death.
When you die, Fuma falls, and then slowly, ominously, the character for death, she just floats up from his body to the top of the screen.
It is a stark, almost theatrical presentation of failure.
It was traumatizing. It wasn't just game over. It was like the game was looking down on you and saying, "You have failed. Behold your mortality." It was so stylish, though.
That style is what kept people playing. But we have to be objective. For all its style, the game had some, let's call them unique design choices.
Oh, this is where it gets really interesting. Let's talk about the demon top.
The Mashu no Koma.
This item. You jump, and instead of just jumping, you turn into a spinning blade of destruction. A human Beyblade. You're invincible while spinning.
He is widely considered a balance breaker.
It was the only way I could beat the game. Who needs strategy when you can just spin through every single enemy? It felt like a cheat code that the developers left in by accident.
From a design perspective, it is problematic.
Yeah.
It makes almost every other weapon useless. Why use a sword when you can just hurl your invincible body at things?
There was a catch, right?
A small one. It slightly reduced your jump height, but generally the invincibility far outweighed that risk.
Small price to pay. But you know, it wasn't a small price. The password system. This felt like actual theft.
This is arguably the game's harshest mechanic. To save your progress, you need a resurrection spell, which is the password.
And you can't just pause to get it.
No, you must die. You have to get a game over and then choose not to continue. Only then does the game give you a password.
So I have to die on purpose to save. But wait, it gets worse.
The penalty for taking this password is that you lose half of all your money.
It's a death tax. Oh, you want to stop playing? Give me half your savings. I remember leaving my Famicom on overnight just to avoid losing my gold.
A risky strategy with those old AC adapters. But it speaks to the game's difficulty. It's very similar to the mechanics in modern Souls-like games where death carries a heavy currency penalty.
That's a great point. And then there's the knockback.
The bane of all 8-bit platformers. Like Castlevania, if Fuma takes damage, he gets knocked backward.
And in a game filled with bottomless pits, backward usually just means dead.
Precisely. You'd be making a perfect jump, a tiny bat would touch your toe and bloop into the abyss.
Yeah.
Cue the floating death kanji.
It felt so unfair. And what about the hit detection in the 3D dungeons?
Oh, the grazing hit.
Jing, jing, that sound.
In the 3D mode, you'd swing your sword, hear a metal clash, but the enemy takes no damage. You had to hit them exactly in the center. If you were slightly off, you just graze them.
It was infuriating. You're slashing away, hearing metal on armor, and the skeleton is just standing there. But despite all that, the game got this massive cult following.
It's a game you love to hate, but ultimately love. It had so much character. But for the longest time, it was stuck in Japan.
Right. The original cartridge never came out overseas. For decades, players outside Japan only knew Fuma from his cameo appearances.
He was in Konami YY World, of course.
Yeah, he was the guy who could break rocks.
And much later, he was a DLC character in Castlevania, Harmony to Despair. Even his rival, Ryūkotsuki, appeared as a female boss in the shooter Automedius X.
Konami just loves to remix their characters. But for the longest time, fans were begging for a true sequel. There were those rumors.
Constant rumors. A trademark was filed for Getsu Fūma Den for the PlayStation 2 in the early 2000s.
I remember reading about that in magazines. I was so hyped. And then, poof, nothing.
It was canceled. For a long time, it seemed the franchise was dead. But then, in 2022, a sequel finally arrived.
Getsu Fūma Den Undying Moon after 34 years. Is that a record?
It is certainly one of the longest gaps between entries. And what's significant is that for the first time, the original game was officially localized. The digital deluxe edition of the new game includes the 1987 Famicom original.
Finally, the rest of the world could experience the joy of the death tax. The new game is a roguelite, right?
It is. It adapts the original structure into that modern loop. And honestly, the roguelite genre is a perfect evolution for it. The original was already about grinding, dying, losing resources, and trying again.
It feels like the industry finally caught up to what this game was trying to do back in '87.
It really was an ambitious spirit. Konami was trying to push the hardware to its absolute limit. They wanted cinematic cutscenes, they wanted 3D, they wanted a huge map. Even if it was a bit clunky, you felt that ambition.
Absolutely. It wasn't just a game, it was an event. It taught me patience, it taught me map reading, and it taught me that if I spin around like a top, I'm invincible.
A lesson that, I must reiterate, sadly does not apply to real life.
I make no promises. So yeah, it's this unique pillar of the 8-bit era. It's difficult, it's weird, but the music and the atmosphere are just unmatched.
It is a game that deserves its legendary status. And for anyone listening who hasn't played it, with the modern releases, there's really no excuse not to try the original.
Exactly. Go find those pulse blades, avenge your brothers. Just watch out for the pits.
And try not to rely solely on the demon top.
You're no fun, spin to win. You know, before we wrap up, I have one last thought that's been nagging me about that timeline.
What's that?
If the game is set in 14,672 AD, and it depicts a world where humanity has reverted to a feudal state with demons, are we technically playing a prequel to humanity's actual future? Like, is Getsu Fūma Den a prophecy?
That is a disturbing thought. Let us hope the future does not involve quite so many skeletons.
I better start practicing my sword skills just in case. Anyway, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Will the game be fun tomorrow too? Happy gaming.